There are two types of water heaters that you're going to see in an RV, the tank type water heater and the tankless. So let's take a look at all the characteristics of both and compare the two. So the first one here, we have a tank type water heater, and it has a storage tank that heats the water 24/7, and it's commonly between 3 and 16 gallons. And it utilizes a electric heating element to heat the water, a gas burner to heat the water, or a combination between the two. Now let's move over here to the tankless type water heater. Now it doesn't have that large storage tank. It actually heats up these coils here as the water travels through it and heats that on the fly. So the functional differences between the two types of tanks, this one obviously has a large storage tank and the tankless one does not. And the tankless water heaters typically are all gas operated inside the RVs. Now let's take a look at the Furrion Tankless water heater specifically. Now it has an endless flow of hot water. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you look at the tank type water heaters, they're measured in gallons, whether it's 3 or 13 gallons. And that will give you the capacity of how many showers your kids can have, right? So in this case, the tankless water heater measures it in gallons per minute. So how many gallons per minute can you retain that heat in that water heater? And in this case, it's 2.4 gallons per minute or 144 gallons in an hour. And it's designed to withstand shock and vibration because the water heater in your basement, well, that doesn't need to have that kind of feature to it. Well, they do in an RV because you're going up and down those bumpy roads. This tankless water heater is gas powered and has several safety features built into it so it doesn't get too hot or it doesn't build up too much pressure. So you have dual over temperature sensors that will automatically shut down the water heater if it gets too hot. And it also has a safety valve that protects against too much pressure buildup. So if it gets too hot, the pressure builds up, it releases that pressure through the safety valve. Now it does have a thermostat that you can put anywhere inside the coach that you deem convenient for you, and it will display the temperature, time, pressure, and indicates when the pressure is too low. So how does the Furion Tankless water heater work? Let's take a look at this step-by-step process over here on my mock-up by taking the cover off and looking at the parts inside. The first step in the water heating process is to get the water from the RV to the water heater. This will happen here at the water inlet. So you connect that water supply line to the water inlet, and then you'll turn the water on at the RV and pressurize the water heater. So the water comes in the water inlet and flows through this tube to the water filter. The water filter has a screen inside, and that removes any particulates before it gets in the heater itself. Once it gets through the water filter, it goes through this water flow sensor. Now the water flow sensor has a series of fans inside that spin when the water moves. This will tell two parts in the heater to turn on. First, it turns on the flue fan assembly here. Once that flue fan assembly is turned on and the heater knows that it can remove the heat from the heat exchanger, then it will turn the igniter on and turn the burner on. And that is this steel piece right here. That's the burner. The water will flow through these copper tubes and retain the heat it's getting from the heat exchanger and then exit out the back of the water heater. The water then flows into this vortex tank, and spins the water and removes any excess heat, giving the water a consistent temperature that reflects the thermostat. The water will exit the vortex tank and enter into this pressure relief valve. If the water pressure is 87 psi or below, the water will then just go to the faucet or shower that you selected. However, if it's 87 psi or above, the pressure relief valve will actuate and dump that excess hot water into this tube, and it will exit onto this tray. You may also see this tube that is on the bottom of the vortex tank and goes back into the water heater and exits on the exit tray. There's a cap here, so if you want to drain your water heater, you'll have to take this cap out. I also wanted to point out the dual over temperature sensors. This one is on the inlet of the water before it gets heated up by the heat exchanger. And the second one is here after the water goes through the heat exchanger and heats up before it exits the appliance. Those dual over temperature sensors will shut the water heater down if a safe water temperature is exceeded. We also have the exhaust pressure switch that monitors the flue fan assembly exhaust pressure and will shut down the water heater if the correct parameters are exceeded. Starting with the drain plug and the drain pipe. These are used for winterizing your unit, and the drain exit channel. Then you have your water flow sensor. It goes right here. And the O-rings that go inside the water flow sensor, and they connect to the copper tube. Then you have your water filter that we talked about earlier. Goes right in there. And your vortex tank that goes on the back of the unit. Next, we have our exhaust pressure switch. Goes right there. And the flue duct assembly. On the flue duct assembly, you have a flue duct seal, and there is a inside stamped on the seal itself, so you always know that it goes on the inside of the unit. Then we have our control panel. This is the brains of the unit. We talked about that. And a 10 amp fuse that goes right here. Next, we have our thermostat. You can install that inside the unit. These doors come in 3 different sizes, depending upon if you're replacing a bigger water tank type water heater. We have 3 different sizes for retrofitting.